Welcome to the good life. Thanks for stopping by. I'm Patrick Harney, and this is episode number 2. And today I am joined by some friends of mine who I've known for, close to 5 years now. They make up Vigilant Entertainment. There's a writer, producer, director, Jeff Kapp, and a producer, Schanski. So let's get to it.
You're recording us now, so we're in professional mode.
Don't be professional.
We're just not going to talk.
All right, I'm now recording. All right, Jeff, Shane, thank you very much for being here, guys. You guys are Vigilant Entertainment, so welcome. I appreciate you guys being here, and I hope you guys have had a good Christmas, good holiday season, good New Year's. Everything go well for you guys?
Yes, thanks. Glad to be here. Thanks for having us.
Oh, all right. This is great. I love it. It's a great start.
Hey, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Okay. So first I want to know, because I think I know this answer, but I'm not confident. Jeff, how did you guys meet each other?
He was working at a retail shop that I got hired into. 6 a.m. crew.
Hey, you were working there before I was.
Was
You were
I?
there.
Oh, you were there, and then you left, and then you came back. Because Florida was in there in the middle.
Yeah, that's true.
Where was
it? Can we Old Navy? Like,
oh, okay.
Yeah. Nothing good.
I thought it was like Hollister or something.
Hollister? No.
It was a fun job.
It was actually pretty fun, especially that we were the 6 a.m. crew. So we just unpacked boxes, put stuff on hangers, and just ripped at each other the entire time.
Insubordinate to our superiors, but it was fun nonetheless.
No, so we met there, and at that point, I was a little bit after I started there. We had my ex-wife and I had our daughter, and I had quit music right before my daughter was born, and then I wasn't in a rush to get back to doing music and like going on tour, stuff like that. And then I met Shane, and he filled my head of the acting stories because he just came back from Florida, where he was down there doing like commercial work, stuff like that, and among other places. And I just kind of started letting myself drift into the film world of it and writing scripts. And we had a girl that worked there with us too. Her name was Erin. And she actually was going to MSU for like screenplay writing. So she actually taught me how to format scripts. And then we just came up with an idea based off of where we were working at the time. And we just started writing episodes and got better at that and just kind of took off from there.
So what made you guys, and Shane, I'll ask you this one. What made you guys start the production company? And where'd you come up with Vigilant Entertainment?
I actually on the name itself, I think Jeff just liked the name Vigilant, and that's where that came from. But I mean, really, what made us start it was I did theater in college, and then I went to Florida for a while. I went to New York for a while, and I was just doing kind of very basic commercial work. And I had done a couple bigger commercials, and then I came back to Michigan and met Jeff, and we kind of, obviously he was interested in what I did and the acting and kind of how I did it and how I got into it. And then we started just coming up with ideas of, well, what could be funny, what could be fun, what would be, a cool idea. That's kind of how we stumbled upon what we called at the time Grace Period, which basically was just our work-based comedy. Which NBC then kind of did right after we came up with it. So then we couldn't claim that it was our idea.
No, they came up with your right? They took it, right?
Yeah, they took our idea.
Yeah.
I can't remember, but it's their big box store comedy. I don't know what it's called, but
was it Superstore?
Yep, that's it. Superstore.
Yeah, that came out I think like 5 or so years after we started.
Yeah. I mean, that's really how it started, was just, we had some ideas that we thought would be funny, and we just kind of said, well, let's try to put some scenes together and see if it is actually funny, or if, we just look like some weird guys putting recording together.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Well, there's somewhere there's still 2 or 3 scenes that we filmed on like a little Sony handheld like home video recorder.
Like
out there
like
somewhere.
the ones you take at the soccer game, like
just like
the strap on the side and the flip open.
I think I found like a $10 tripod at some point at like Best Buy.
And people are like, oh, well, you can come use our apartment if you want. Yeah, you can film in our kitchen.
I would love to see those scenes.
And I don't know, somehow that was the first time we pulled together extras, and we had about 20 or 30 MSU students show up on this house on campus, and we filmed like this party scene.
Yeah, we did. We did like that house party scene, and we actually had a lot of people. There were probably 20. We had like 20 extras, and I don't think they had any idea. They
had no clue what they were getting themselves in.
Going on.
Shane, were you acting in it?
Yeah, the year I was acting in. Yeah.
Oh, dude. I would love to see those scenes. Because I've always wanted to see your acting. Jeff, I've already seen your acting. But Shane, I would love.
You haven't seen he did Friendly Advice with us.
Yeah, I did Friendly Advice. I played the older brother.
That is true.
It's still my favorite character I've ever seen Shane play.
Yeah, that one was actually pretty good. I came up with some what I thought was some good stuff. But really, I mean, I just kind of since we really started, I mean, I really have backed away from the acting stuff. One, because I haven't done it very much, so I just don't feel like kind of on my game, if you will, anymore. I mean, like anything, I feel the less you do it, the farther kind of away you get from it. So really, I've stepped away from acting and just kind of been more on the development side with Jeff, or at least, trying to keep the reins on Jeff as much as I can for our different projects that we have going on. But I've also, I never thought that I would enjoy kind of coming up, story creation or even story writing. And that's one thing that I've kind of come to, that I've found that I've enjoyed. But it kind of comes to me in waves. I mean, think like anything, like we started writing a script a couple months back, and, I kind of had a wave where Jeff and I, we pumped out like 50, 60 pages pretty quick. And then we both kind of got distracted with other projects, and we were talking about it recently, like we haven't really looked at it or developed anything else from that since then. But we got a good start on that script in, I don't know, 4 or 5 days.
Yeah. It's one of those things where we knew how it was going to end. We knew how we wanted to end it. We got all the way up to I hate act 2 in a script, but I hate working in scripts anyways, but like in acts anyways, but like act 2, where like it's the turning point type thing. Like we knew where our turning point was. We knew the scene. We knew how it was going to go down. But there was that scene leading up to it that we didn't know how to really like make it appropriate and not feel forced to do it. And that's what really kind of choked us up on it.
Well, and I get the whole, having it come in waves. Like I was toward the beginning of all the quarantine stuff, I had this idea to, and I've been writing a comedy series, and I'm doing 8 episodes. I got to about 5.5 episodes in, and just like lost all, like, and I was hoofing it on these episodes, and I was like, my momentum and everything, I was like, damn, this is gonna be great, and like I'm super excited about it. I got to 5.5 episodes, and I'm just like, ugh, like my brain was just tired. I was like, I had nothing. And so I took a break from it, finally finished episode 6. I have 2 episodes left. And like, I ended up going back to a feature that I had written like 3-4 years ago. and started looking through that and was like, oh, this is garbage. Let me fix this. And started working on that. So I still have to finish those 2 episodes, and I hope I will. And I know I will pretty soon, but I totally understand the whole, like, you know, losing your groove and, or your momentum, I should say. Do you miss acting though?
Yeah, sometimes I do. Sometimes I do. If things are like, if I read something and like there's a specific character that like immediately, you know, I have that idea in my head of like, well, I know who this guy is, or I know what their motivations are. You know, then I'd be like, boy, that's something I'd like to do. Like, so one of our screenwriters, that we use, Nolan, he sent us a script a while back now that both Jeff and I really like. It's just we don't know when or if we're going to be able to get to it. Excuse me, but it
Would you
basically
keep it down?
Yeah, I know, right?
Trying to do a show here.
But basically, it's kind of like Parks and Rec in The Office, in that there's kind of that interview-based style where each character is kind of having one-on-one conversations with the camera, but then it cuts to the actual movement of the story. The plot is being developed, and the whole basis of the movie, of the script, is these like, I mean, what would you call them, Jeff? Like demons?
They're based off of like your kind of iconic serial, like horror movie guys, like Jason, Chucky, all them. It's kind of based off of each one of them without it being them. And
is it a comedy?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
it's a dark comedy. It's kind of off. Think of it as like Cops, almost like they're being followed by a camera crew. It's called Don't Break the Rules. Basically, it's just like what happens if these horror icons didn't follow the rules of a horror film.
Yeah.
What happens? And so one of them breaks one of the, I think there's 8 rules written, breaks one of them, and then
Spoiler.
everything just starts to unwind and turn back on them. And they're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
They kind of start to become the victims of certain things. And they're like, what the hell is this? So,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I like that.
And it's not just the story of them trying to not break the rules, but it's the dynamic, because they all live in the same house.
Oh yeah.
So they're all trying to learn how to basically cohabitate within this house, and you know, and so each character is bringing something different. But that was one, when I read it, I was like, well, I could see how this character should be played, or that character, because the way Nolan wrote each character, some of them are very high strung, some of them are very dry and sarcastic, some of them are just mean. But that was one, when I read it, I was like, oh, that's a pretty good those are characters where I could see, you know, potentially, you know, like wanting to play one of them, just because it was interesting that there were so many different options, if you will, that you could take with each one of the characters.
Yeah. Well, and it's always so fun, I think, too, when you have characters that are so outrageous.
Yeah.
That at that point you can go in and say, well, there's no pun intended, there's no rules. Like, I can literally do whatever with this character and it won't be too much. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
that, you know, and that is like almost all actors say, you know, obviously those are the most enjoyable or fun characters to play, because you have such a wide range to create within. There was quite a few years ago now, 10 years ago probably now, I did a play at Riverwalk in Lansing. And it was a really interesting story. It was actually it was written, the play was written by a Jewish man, and it was actually adapted by HBO into a movie. And it had some really big stars like Kenneth Branagh, Stanley Tucci. And it's about the meeting that took place among high-ranking Nazi officers about what they called the final solution, which was basically their plan, how they were going to handle all of the Jewish populations within the countries that they were conquering, that they were taking over. You know, and again, that was one of those things where you had a very specific area, but you had a wide range, because it's like, okay, what drove all of these people to do such terrible things, and not think that it was a terrible thing that they were doing at the time.
Yeah.
So, you know, that sort of character development is always something that interests me, because you're playing something that is so far away from who you are as a person, or who I am as a person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. It's always, I think you're right. It is always more interesting to play a character that is farther away from you, because it's an experience just to get into the mindset of that character.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and especially when you go through, like when you're on set, which I'm sure that you've gone through, or any plays that you've done, like we all got haircuts to match the time, like the way that they would actually look at the time in 1941. I think 42 was about maybe when the setting took place. And so, you know, you get your hair cut, but then you still have to go around out in public, you know, and
Yeah.
people are looking at you like, dude, why is your hair, like, why do you look like a German from 1939? Oh, and at the time, I think I was even still working at Old Navy at the time. So, you know, you're showing up to work, and I have Jeff taking pot shots at my hair, and, you know, and customers, and they're like, where can I find jeans? And is there somebody that doesn't look like a Nazi that can help me?
You just start going like, oh, it's over there.
As long as you didn't have the mustache, then I think it would have been a little bit more bearable.
We went no facial hair.
That's good. So, what films inspire the types of films that you guys create?
Honestly, anything. I mean, we've kind of bounced around from genre to genre just to kind of see what we like. Shane's more of the comedic, the lighter side of things. And then for me, I like suspense, twist, thrillers, stuff like that. So that's where I kind of get pulled to. So him and I are always having that constant battle back and forth of, hey, we just did 3 things about people getting mass murdered. How about we go on the lighter side this time? I'm like
how about they accidentally die?
Yeah, but in a very comedic way.
No, she wasn't pushed into the wood chipper. She tripped.
Well, and I think that, you know, that's what's great about your guys' films is you can tell the influence that you both have on the film, because typically, I mean, the stuff that you guys have done is pretty dark, but there's always comedic elements to it where you don't typically get that in those sort of films. And so I think that, you know, that's what makes the films that you guys make so unique. And I think that's why I've enjoyed doing as many of them as I have with you guys, because
You're a sucker for punishment. Yeah,
exactly. But I like to laugh about it, right? So yeah, it's, you know, it's always interesting to hear people's inspirations and you know, and how they get to where they are.
Yeah, and I don't think that it's necessarily like we set out, like, you know, like Jeff sets out to do, like, okay, we want to do a horror movie, or we want to do a comedy. It's him usually sending me like pages of text with, hey, this is my idea, like, this is what I've been thinking about. Is there something there? Do you think that we could create a story out of this? Is it an interesting story? Is it something that people would want to watch for 90 minutes?
Yeah, I usually send them texts that are like almost like elevator pitches essentially to them. Like,
Yeah.
I send them anything, it's almost like a pitch of, hey, this is what the idea is. This is what's going to happen. This is why I think it would be a good idea. What do you think? And half the time it's, Jesus, Jeff, you need to stop this. I'm sick of it. I'm blocking your phone number. I'm done with you.
Well, if it was up to Jeff, he would start a new project every single day.
Yeah, exactly.
So, you know, so for me, I have to try to keep him concentrated on what's directly in front of us and not what's like 3 steps in front of us. But yeah, no, I mean, he's right in the sense that, you know, he'll come up with the idea, and, sometimes the idea hits right away, and we'll start kind of creating an outline of what the plot would be, or we'll actually start like, well, this is what I had as an idea of the opening scene, or this could be, this is how we'll create the twists that we want to be, that we want to create, which, I think is kind of how we got to Locker 42. Was Jeff had a lot of different ideas of the way he wanted the twist to go, and we kind of started with a big group of options. Then it got whittled down as the story came together, and we got a better idea of, okay, this is what's going to be the most effective twist, or this is what's going to land the hardest, if you will.
Well, and Locker 42 originally started out as 3 short films.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I remember
they were nowhere near what the script is now.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
The ending was completely different. The motivation behind the killer that went quiet for some odd years was completely different. I remember I was at work and I had a kitchen knife in this, and I accidentally ran it across the countertop, and it made like that weird, creepy, like screeching.
Mm-hmm.
And I just had an idea, and I don't know if we kept the song in it, but there's a song that he sang as he was dragging the knife across, as he was coming up against who was then tied up in a chair in a locker at that point. And that's completely gone now, because that was almost like a horror sense, but then we kind of molded it more into that thriller, suspense, crime. No,
yeah,
it is now.
Well, and I remember being on set for the first short film, and I remember saying to you, I was like, dude, this concept is way too good to be a few short films. I said, you should turn this into a feature. And I remember you were like, nah, I don't want to do that.
Which is the premiere of the first feature was the next day. I'm like, fuck, we just got done. I'm exhausted. Like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Which is funny, Patrick, because he was pitching me the opposite. We got the 3 short films, and then he's like, well, we could just turn this into one feature length, all together. And I'm like, we literally just got done with Scapegoat, so let's just do these 3 short films and then see where that leads us.
Yeah, that's funny, man. And and I remember when Jeff came to me and said, hey, so I was talking with Shane, and I was talking, with this guy that I know is a writer, and and I think we're gonna turn it into a feature film. What do you think? I was like, what do you mean? What do I think? I was like, I was the one pitching this on the set.
You were the last straw in it, though. I've heard, because I don't know, I heard from 3 or 4 different people. All right, man, you should make it in the future. I'm like, shut up, I don't want to do that. Shut up, I don't want to do this. And then I think we were on set. I think it was like day 1 or 2, and you said it. I'm like, in the back of my head, I'm like, fuck. All right, well,
I just had to sweet talk you.
And probably the other thing that didn't help was that everybody that we would send the 3 short films to, we were kind of all getting the same response back, was, hey, this is really good, but why is it 3 short films?
Yeah.
Well,
because I wanted to release it in a sense of, so Storage was the first one. I wrote that from start to beginning, and I had the other 2 already
from start to beginning.
Out. What?
Yeah, I had that too, but I was hoping you'd jump on.
What?
You said I wrote that from start to beginning.
Did I say start to beginning?
Yes.
I wrote the title and I was done. No, I wrote it from start to finish, and then I had the other 2 mapped out, and then at that point, Nolan and I met on a feature that.
And this is Nolan Bryant, correct?
Yeah, I met him on a feature, and like we figured out very quickly that the director and producer of that, for lack of better words, was full of shit, and I left the project, and then he followed suit kind of after that, and then we just kept in touch, and we just kept talking about writing and bouncing ideas off of each other, and so I had these other 2 mapped out, and I'm like, hey. So I'm working on this premiere. We're filming this one. Do you want to write one of the other ones or both? And he's like, yeah. Like, what do you got? So I sent him my ideas, and he just started writing. And I think he got the second one done. And then that's when we decided, hey, we're just going to do this as a feature. And I just remember him going, why didn't you send that to me a week ago? I'm like, sorry. But so how it was going to go, Storage was the first one, but it was actually the second story in the 3. But it was going to be released first. The second one was almost like the prologue to it. And then we would come back and finish.
It was our chance to go Star Wars on everybody.
Yes.
By just pulling up the order.
Yep. We had Jar Jar in there at some point. So.
Yeah. Well,
that was the plan of it. But but then you guys just wouldn't stop bugging me.
Badgering you about it.
And so it turned into that, and then Nolan and I knocked out the feature, and it wasn't that long actually, I feel like. But we did this cool thing to where like I mapped out essentially the entire feature and hit the points that I wanted to hit. And then he filled in the gaps. And then we went back together and we just went back and forth scene by scene until we finished it.
See, how do you do that? How do you like write a scene and then write the scene, like 2 scenes after that and 2 scenes after that, because he's writing the scenes in between? How do you even do that?
So actually at first it was a little chaotic, but we got on this awesome stretch of, like I said, with Locker 42, I put down the points that I wanted in the story. And I almost as like a detailed pitch of this is where this happens, this is where this happens. Then he filled in the gap from there. And then we just went back and we did scene by scene, just basically put the finishing touches on each scene. And then we went through it, chronologically all the way through. Then, so that's how that went. But then when we started doing another feature, it was almost kind of the same setup. I had the beginning, I had the end, and we had that how it was going to get there essentially. And then he would write from, it was Wednesday to Sunday, whatever he could write. And then, no, that was me. I'm sorry. I was writing Wednesday to Sunday as much as I could write. He was writing Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, because I had my kids Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. When I have my kids, I tend to not work on anything additional. Yeah, it's just my time with them. So he would write in that time frame, and then so whatever he had, he would turn it into me, and I would pick it up and go from there. And then once we got when we felt like we had the full script done, we went back and we adjusted as we went. And him and I are working on a short film right now, and we're doing the same thing. He wrote the opening to it. I took it the next couple scenes and then turned it back over to him, and then he just returned in what he just wrote last night. And so I read through it, and then I'm going to pick it up from there. And each time we'll go back one scene that they wrote, and if there's anything that we feel like we need to change to get us to the scene that we're going to write, we'll bounce it off of each other, and then we'll make the edits and then go forward.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and kind of
interesting.
Yeah, to piggyback off that, because that's really, when Jeff and I write, that's kind of the way that we write, is that he'll send me something that he's already written, whether it be just a concept or an entire scene written out. And then I'll read the scene, and obviously we will kind of have talked about what the story is going to be, where we want it to go. And so then I'll write something, and sometimes it doesn't line up at all, and sometimes it does, but then then we go back and we say, okay, here's the first scene, here's the second scene. Now, what do we need to adjust or trim in order to make it kind of one flowing thing, one flowing story?
Man.
The feature that we talked about earlier that him and I are running on, that's how it was too. I think I pitched him the whole idea of it, and then that was one where right away we didn't know how we wanted it to end, but we knew the idea of how do we get these people in one spot. And it is actually kind of eerie because the idea of it was I recently had just lost a friend from high school. And then when I was talking to Shane about it, he kind of had a similar experience with one of his buddies. They had the same name, they had everything. It was a very, very, such a coincidence actually. And so we kind of built it off of that. And then we had the idea for some of the main characters and their backstory. And then I think Shane wrote the opening scenes of how to get us into the actual film. And I kind of took it off from there. And that was actually, honestly, the best writing I think I've done in a long time. It came so natural to where I would spend an hour nonstop writing.
Yeah. And obviously you don't know, I mean, maybe I'm sure some writers do, but we don't have the dialogue in our head, but we know, okay, we want to open where our main characters all find out, kind of this big plot point right at the start. They all find this out. And then we go to, they all meet up together. And then it's, and in this case, they all come back to their hometown for a funeral. And then of course that leads to, unresolved issues within the friendships, and then we knew that we wanted to get them all together in one place that brought back a lot of nostalgic memories for them. So what was that place? How do we get them there? And then so we just kind of we each just kind of divided up these different plot points that we wanted to hit, and then we just wrote scenes according to that. And then once we had the scene written, we would then go back and forth with each other. Okay, how do we make this better? How do we make it smoother? How does the previous scene affect this scene, and how does this scene affect the next scene, so that it didn't look like we had just written, a bunch of individual scenes that don't connect with the previous or the next.
Yeah. So was that kind of the process, and correct me if I'm wrong, but was that kind of the process for Lift? Because I know you guys are going to be working on a film called Lift. So if you are able to, can you tell me a little bit about that, what that process was like of coming up with the idea and how, if the script and everything?
So for Lift, I don't know what was going on in my mind at the time, but we were coming into the premiere of Scapegoat. We were doing Storage, which is now Locker 42. I just had these, just a group of ideas just hit me all at once. And the best way to get it out there and keep me motivated is a visual, right? So Noah, who was working with us, he's the one that, was there from the beginning with Vigilant as well too. I had him draft me up just a teaser poster. And that was my motivation and my reminder of this is still here. This is my idea that I still need to do. And Lift just came from basically, honestly, it's what it sounds like. It's kind of poking at the Lyft car service essentially. But I didn't put a dark horror twist on it. And
murder.
Oh yeah, Jeff was deep in the weeds, man, with the killing and the special plot time.
But with that though, I think it's so easy. Every plot for horror films is the same, and it's horror films bore me, to be honest with you, but I love them. And so I wanted to have, when we create horror films, I wanted to actually have more of a story than just the face value of it. Oh, killer, group of people, he's going to kill them off one by one. Guess what? At the end, there's going to be a couple survivors, and they're going to kill him. At the end, he's going to come back type thing. All of it is just, I want more of a story. I want more of a depth to it. And Lift was one of those to where at face value, it was just that though. It was, all right, well, they get into a car, and that car is not your typical Lift. It's this guy has this horrible agenda that he wants, and he's making these two, this couple throughout the night do what he wishes type thing. And it's all a random assortment of stuff, like mugging somebody. Now you have to go through and commit this crime and all this other stuff. He's just toying with them. But then when it came down to the reason behind it, I couldn't really lock it down for the longest time. And eventually I landed on, I'm not going to go too much into it, but I landed on an idea that was it touched on a lot of the pop culture, a lot of the political that we're going through currently. And it has a agenda behind it as well too.
Nice.
So yeah, that's something that I think I sent Shane a rough draft back in the day, but since I've worked on it, I haven't shown anybody because I don't feel like I've nailed it quite yet.
Gotcha. Well, and to go back to your point of the depth of horror films, I think that's why It works so well, because there's so much story there. It's not just a killer clown, whatever, you know, there's so much story about, you know, for the characters that are there. You know, they aren't just, it's not just like Cabin in the Woods where you have your, you know, stereotypical frat douchebag and his cheerleader girlfriend, and then you have the nerd, and then you have the pothead, and then you have the, you know, it's like the characters, there's a lot of depth and story to go there. So I think that's why those did so well, because it wasn't your typical, I mean, it still kind of followed the same formula, but there was much more to it.
Right. And like the ones I'm speaking about though are like the classics, like Friday the 13th, like like, okay, there's got to be a little bit more depth to it, and that's what I'm aiming to do with horror films that we will do in the future. Just so there's a backstory there, but like it's not too, you know, in depth. Like it's not like a whole thing, and that's just like I said, I just want to add more to it.
Now I do want to talk about Jeff and I got to work together again on a music video for a song called Pictures of You by this band right here of Virtue.
Well, there's too many people in that photo though.
Okay. Let's see. Tyler is right here.
Just block out the other one.
I think Damon is right here, and if you're listening to this, I'm very sorry, but watch the video. And then here's Mike right here. But yeah, no, it was for this. It was a reimagined version of their song "Pictures of You," which Tyler Ennis, the lead vocalist, he wrote about his sister who passed away when he was little, and the original song it featured Kaylee Wolf, and she was phenomenal, and I thought she was great. And then they had this guy who's actually going to be our composer and music supervisor for Locker 42. His name is Randy Slaw. He's a Grammy nominated music producer and composer. He reached out to them and said, "Hey, I really like this song. I have an idea for it. Would you guys mind if I toy around with it?" Obviously they said yes, because like, why wouldn't you? Yes. And he made this orchestral version of it, and it's gorgeous. And so Tyler had asked me, he said, "Hey, would you mind coming to do some background vocals for it?" And I said, "Well, sure." So I went to the studio with him and Damon Tate, who's the kind of the OG of the band. He's the original founder. He and Mike are, but Damon's like the owner of the band technically. And I started doing some background vocals, and they said, "Hey, well, do you just want to do the second verse that Kaylee had done?" I was like, "Well, sure." Yeah, I'm not going to say no. And I was very honored that they wanted me to do that. And so I did it. And then afterward, Tyler had said, "Hey, well, I want to do a video and I want to have Jeff direct it." Personally, I thought it would have been better if Shane was there instead, but you know, you win some, you lose some. So
all you ever got at that point is him, huh?
Yeah. And then he would have been like, "Let's go, hurry up. We're running out of time.
Come on, let's go."
That's very true. I can do something in half the time Jeff does.
Yeah. But yeah, and we I remember thinking that when we were coming up with the idea for the video, you and Tyler had done all of the prep for that and figured out what you guys wanted to do. And I remember we went to dinner and with the band and talked about, you know, what the video was going to be about and everything. And so we wanted to have a lot of like family and family friends there. And I remember thinking in my head, I was like, okay, well, I'm going to try to get a couple actor friends of mine, because, you know, people can show emotion, whatever, but whenever cameras get around, people can get weird, you know? And so I was like, let's get some people that we know can help sell the emotion if we need it. Right. Well, we got there and it was like a 4-hour funeral. I mean, it was
Dude,
Like so my parents went also, and my mom told me, she goes, you didn't tell me, because okay, the video's in the style of a grief counseling session, and my mom told me, she goes, you didn't tell me that I was going to actually need grief counseling after after we're done filming this. I mean, it was indescribable. I mean, the stories that everybody went up there and told, I mean, were just like, they hit you right in the chest, man. And
Yeah,
it was beautiful.
When I saw, and maybe I was wrong, because I mean I was pretty young when this particular band was really at their height, but like the first time I saw it, for some reason it just reminded me a lot of something like Pearl Jam would put out. And not to compare the band to another band, but like when I saw it, I was like, this is exactly kind of what this feels like. Something that, like, you know, the content of the song, the actual styling of the song, and then the video on top of it. That was the first thing. When Jeff sent me kind of the first cut of what he had done, you know, obviously I was like, well, this is really good. And I'm glad that, you know, that
no,
they
actually,
want.
what he said is like, damn, like, why? Like, you're disgracing the band with this.
Why are you even doing this? What's wrong with you?
Right. But yeah, that was, you know, that was really what I saw. And it was that was kind of the genre that it led me to.
Yeah. And when also I looked on YouTube just last night, because I wanted to get an update on where it's at. It's been out for, I think, a little over 3 weeks now, the video. And it's already at like 33,000 views. I mean, it's doing really well.
Jumped up there pretty quick too.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's what you get. I mean, they put out a phenomenal song like that. Just the original version was good. It was great. But then this one it took a song that, like, when you heard it, you're like, oh man, that's deep. I get it. And then they released the reimagined version, and like, you just get sucked in, and you get in your feels when you hear it.
Yeah.
And it makes you sit and just, I mean, the first time I heard it, I was in the kitchen, and Tyler had sent it to me in an email. I was like, hey, this is the new version. Listen to it. I want you to direct a video. Just tell me what you think. And I think I told you, but like the first time I heard it I was like, holy shit, Patrick can sing. Like this, I was like, that's him? He's like, yeah. I'm like, that's awesome. And then I had to re-listen to it, just like that was the first thing I thought of, and that just stuck with me. And I went back and I listened to it again, and I listened to it about 3 or 4 times just straight. And I just found myself just like staring off, because I just got so pulled into the song. And what kind of triggered the idea of the grief counseling was the gang vocals that you, Tyler and Damon do. Mm-hmm. It sounded like a group. Obviously, gang vocals is a group of people, but it sounded like I just envisioned a room of people singing that part, and that's where I got the idea of grief counseling. And I think it was that night or the next night I called up Tyler, and I'm like, this is what I'm thinking about. And we went through a couple different, you know, scenarios of how we were going to get to it and what it's going to look like. But what we landed on too, I thought was great, because I think at one point we talked about doing like a kind of like visual type thing, but we just kept going back to this grief counseling and just having these people sit and share a story, their story. Yeah. Which I hate when people say, oh, it's actors or whatever. Yeah, there's 2 or 3, but everyone else, that is all emotion. That is all true emotion, even from the actors. Like, there's
literally 3 actors total
out of 30 people
besides myself that was there, and one of them, I mean, was Jimmy Chappelli, which he's actually going to be on the show also. He was our grief counselor.
Yep.
And what was funny is I remember he had texted me saying, hey, you know, what do I need to wear? You know, what do I need to bring for this? And I said, you know, just like some regular jeans or whatever would be fine. Maybe some dress shoes. I said, and like a dress shirt with like a nice sweater over top. And he texted me back. He goes, well, and if you know Jimmy, he's like, well, you know, there's a problem. And I said, what's that? And he goes, I don't wear sweaters. And I said, okay, well, question, is that like a definitive, like, no, I don't wear sweaters, or does that mean you don't have any? And he goes, I don't have any. So I told him, I said, all right, well, I will bring you a sweater.
Oh, that was your sweater?
That was my sweater. And he said that after that video came out, there was a director who reached out to him. There was a friend of his, and he said, "Hey, I had no idea you could play that type of role. I have a role for you in this film that I think you'd be great for now because of that look." You know,
It's all down to your sweater.
yeah,
Yep.
dude. I mean, I'm basically responsible for his career, but it's okay. You know,
You now get the sweater gets 30% credit.
yeah,
But
yeah,
going that as well, though, like what you were saying, Patrick, where initially you were thinking, okay, I'm going to have to get people in here that are pros. I'm going to need to get actors in here so that we can get those takes that we need.
Yeah.
But it's more like it's better for it that it's not actors.
Yep.
yeah,
You know, because when I first watched it and I saw, you know, and the people were talking, I was thinking to myself, I was like, man, they really got them to just like talk about this.
Mhm.
yeah.
Like, you know, just there. And to me, it was the video was better for it that it was actual family members remembering their family instead of, like you said, because the actors could have done it and the audience probably would have been none the wiser. But once you realize that it is the real family members talking about their lost, that then you're kind of like, well, this kind of goes to a whole new level.
Yeah. Well, and what was nice about it was, so the actors that did come, because we had Jimmy Chappelle, we had Spring Lyons, and we also had Michael McCallum, and they talked about people that they actually lost. It was a true, none of it was scripted except for the little bit in the intro of Jimmy. But when he started talking about his mom, that was all him.
We wrote it. I think I wrote the dialogue the night before and sent it over to you guys, and it was just a quick little intro about how people deal with grief differently. And then I stopped at a certain point because I wanted him just to, on the day I told him, let's speak from your heart. I was like, who do you have, who's in the photo? And he told me about his mom, and we talked about his mom for a little bit. And then I was like, all right, well, what you said to me, if you want to use that, use it, but just openly speak about her.
Yeah.
And then he did. It was beautiful.
Well, and after the first take that he did, I went up to him afterward and I asked him, I said, so how'd you feel about it? Are you feeling okay about it? And he looked at me and he goes, man, I didn't anticipate, like I was having a hard time getting through that, and that's the thing is, it was truly a beautiful experience. Oh geez, there he goes.
Oh, no.
There we
I'm
are.
here.
No, it was truly a beautiful experience, and I'm very proud to be a part of it, and I'm very proud that Tyler and the band allowed me to be a part of it. You're not going to take your clothes off or something, are you?
No, I just got to plug my phone in here.
Oh, okay.
So
well, I just lost a bunch of views now. So
on the day though, we showed up, and I remember them showing us the room.
Yeah.
That we were going to be in, and I hated it.
Same.
Chase and I looked around. We're like, this isn't going to work. Like this
lighting was terrible.
Yeah, Chase Stanton, the guy who was the cinematographer. Oh my God, I can't speak this morning. The cinematographer on the shoot with me. It was my first time working with him, and I loved it. Like, him and I are actually doing more stuff together now, which is fantastic. We're doing an ad that we'll talk about possibly later, but
probably not.
I hope not.
Continue.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
So we get to this room, and it was just terrible. Like, the lighting was awful. It didn't feel good at all. So I think I had Tyler. I'm like, take me on tour of this place. It was a church, and we went level by level by level, and it was the very top level.
Yeah,
and this room that was just open. I think it had like 6 windows on each side, so the light was great.
Had to bring like 30 freaking chairs up there, but it's fine.
I bet Jeff would carry one of those chairs.
So
it was literally one. It was the last one that we needed.
Right, do we need any more? I'm like, yeah, I'll get it. Don't worry.
I couldn't grab the 5th chair, I just.
But I bet he made such a big deal out of it too. He's probably dragging it up step by step.
I had somebody waiting on the 2nd floor with a bottle of water for me.
He pulled a hamstring on the way up.
I got it. I got it. Not that I don't do enough around here. I'll get there too.
But we get up there, and that room was it was the room to do it in.
Yeah.
So, and then you guys brought all the chairs up,
Damn
and we
straight.
just had it positioned, and we were going to do a circle at first, but then the rows is what we ended up going with. And then Chase had this, out of all the work we had to do, like going up those flights of stairs, the worst part was Chase saw this old school heater in the room out next door. Thing weighs like 200 pounds, right?
Like
And he's
cast
like,
iron. Just
we're going to put it in there. We're putting it in there. So there's 4 of us lifting up this giant heater and slowly inching it into this other room to sit it down in view of the camera.
Wasn't it like a radiator?
It was a radiator or something.
But what's funny is if you really look at it, it makes no sense in that room and is not connected to a damn thing.
Nope.
But in the background, it looks great. Right?
It's phenomenal. Just like the podium. Like we have the podium for somebody to speak at, and like
he was sitting in the chair the whole time. He didn't even get up to the podium.
But it was there and it added to it. So we did it.
It's all about the aesthetics.
Exactly.
So
it was just a whole fun experience in shooting the entire thing though. Like, and the raw footage as I was editing this thing, I cried like a baby on the day.
mm-hmm.
Like, especially there's a couple people that got up there that the little girl, when she started crying, I cried.
If you didn't cry at some point that day, you have no soul.
Yeah. And then when I was sitting here editing it, and it's like 2 a.m. sometimes, and like I would just start crying all over again because like the raw footage in it too, like you can hear Chase and I sobbing in the background. Which I was like,
you're just hearing somebody talk, and you just hear a.
No, you're crying. I'm not crying.
Oh yeah, that cut was great. Let's do it again. Reset.
Wait, how old was she again? Out
of all the good, amazing stories that were told and everything that day, the thing that stands out to me the most is, there's 2 things that Patrick did. Patrick forced some real tears that day, which was awesome.
Which I'm gonna say, dude, it was the easiest time I've ever had.
So what we did before people even shared their stories, I played that song like 2 or 3 times on the loop, and I just had the people look at the photos.
Yeah.
And I was just like, just look at the photos, think, and just listen. And we just took video of everybody doing that, which was a lot of the filler stuff that was in the video. And just the first take, instantly, people were just sucked in and just losing it. And I think at some point I looked up and I just see you crying. So I run over there with the camera
mm-hmm.
and I get it.
And you didn't even put it in the first cut, you son of a bitch.
So it was in the first cut, but then they had me move some stuff around and I forgot to put it back in.
I texted you after that. I was like, man, I worked hard for those tears.
Yeah.
You better put that in there.
On the day he comes up to me, he's like, Jeff, hey, I cried. Did you see it?
Yeah.
I said, yes, I had the camera in your face. I saw it.
Sent me that. He goes, hey, he sent me that and he tagged. He said, look at Patrick crying like a little baby.
Wow, thanks.
And then when we were doing the performance pieces, Patrick's like, I gotta stand for this. I'm standing.
I was wearing a long coat, man. You gotta flaunt the long coat.
You're 6'6". No, and you're not.
4. I'm 6'4".
I mean, you came into that room too, and that long coat with that scarf on. Oh my gosh, it was like Leonardo DiCaprio came back to his hometown to stop at the self-help meeting real quick.
Oh, that's funny.
So...
What and what was funny was, so Tyler had told me, because I had asked him, I said, I asked him about like wardrobe. I said, well, like, what do you want me to wear? And he had said, well, I think he said, everybody in the band, we're going to try to wear something that's red, and the rest of it, for the most part, be like black. And I said, okay.
How is that right though? Because like Mike and Damon were in all black.
Yeah.
There's no red to it.
I know. I don't know.
Yeah, Tyler had the red bomber jacket on.
Yeah.
The red scarf and the downs were just black.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know.
I think he was just
but,
messing with you.
but,
He wanted somebody to match.
well, and so I was like, because I was super nervous about this video because I was like, this is for Tyler, this is for the band. Like, I want to make sure I do it justice. So I was like putting on stuff and sending him pictures of like different wardrobe options, and I was like, what? I don't know. Like, is this good? Like, and I said it'll be kind of cold, so like maybe a long coat would be work. And he goes, yeah, dude, that looks great. That looks great. But he said that with like every single. So I was like, all right, I'm just
So
gonna
you
pick
knew he
one.
wasn't really paying attention.
No, yeah, he was 100% playing video games.
Live streaming a game, and he was like, "Yeah, this is fine."
Yeah, he's like, wow, that's great. Ugh. On to the
But
next.
you wanted to stand up, and I said, "No, you're sitting down because everyone else is in the band's like 5'5". There's no way I'm gonna have all of you guys together, and you just towering over everybody. But I want to stand. I feel like I need to stand. I'm like, no, sit your ass in the chair.
I just wanted to unleash all of my emotion, man.
I think we did like I
can't strap me down, man.
I think I took the camera and I did like one shot of it. I'm like, yeah, no, you're sitting down. I'm not.
Yeah, you literally did it just to humor me, and like I could tell midway through that you were just like, all right, this was a mistake.
I didn't even hit record. I just did it to make sure.
I don't even waste battery on it.
No, I wasn't wasting battery on it.
So you so humbly mentioned an ad that you're doing. What is that? Let's talk about that.
So this year, Shane and I were talking.
That's nice. Okay, Shane. So what? That's enough out of you.
That's it's kind of it's I guess would say our most recent idea or our most recent project. Like as most of our stuff is, Jeff texted me his rundown of what he was thinking, and it is specific kind of what we were looking at. He had an idea about basically a father and a daughter going like on a date, like Valentine's Day. The dad's taking the daughter out for Valentine's Day, and we just kind of played with that idea. Okay, how would he do it? What would be, what's the punchline of the ad, of the ad? What are we trying to sell to whoever it is that is watching? And I thought we came up with a really good idea.
So who's it for, or what's it? Is it for a company?
It's like talking to my toddler on FaceTime. Oh, it's great looking ceiling. No, we're gonna start just because like we've been doing films for 3 years or so. Like, kind of wanted to be perfectly open and honest. Like, I hit a block. Like, writing wise, I just with how things have been going, I just hit a block. And so I wanted to try to switch it up and do something different. And so I came up with an idea to start doing ads and seeing what we can do with it. And so
try to sell them as like generic ads, and companies kind of fit them into your own thing.
The one thing, cool. I don't know about you guys, but like the one thing that pisses me off the most about like watching commercials or ads is like pan across to see this building or this business, and then now we're going this way. And a voiceover, and it just and the music
is always ding 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 ding.
Yeah, and it's just and then
especially for local ads, like it. I don't know. It's pointless, and I don't know why it bothers me so much. But like, I watch a local business, and they do a TV commercial, and I'm like, who did you hire to do this for you, and how did they sell you on this piece of crap? Product that they gave you.
I always say, who is the guy who said, that'll be perfect for TV?
Yeah. Absolutely. I know.
Yeah. But so it kind of just stemmed off of that. And then this idea with Valentine's Day coming up, as a father, like we're growing up, we're young guys, we do what we need to do for Valentine's Day to impress the lady we're with. And it's just everything. This is what every commercial you see is that. Like, this Valentine's Day, get her the necklace that she'll always remember, and like flowers and carriages and all this bullshit.
That's exactly how the voiceover goes. Yep.
Exactly. Yeah.
This Valentine's Day.
So I was
in
just
a
like, well,
world
I'm
with
sick of aiming it at that. So what we're doing is, we're playing to the dads.
that's cool, man. I like
And
that.
it's gonna be, like I said, there's a dad who he's at work and you can just see him. He's eager. I mean, it's just, well, so it comes in on a guy who's just at work. He's eager to get out of work, checking the time, and then and finally it hits that 5 o'clock or whatever, and he gets on his phone. He's like, hey, I'm so excited for tonight. Like, I cannot wait to see you. I really hope like you like where I'm taking you. I love you. I'll see you soon. And then he starts getting ready, buys flowers. You can just see that he's nervous and everything like that. And he's putting a lot of thought and a lot of time into this. And then he shows up to a house and knocks on the door, and a woman opens the door, and like, you get that idea of that he's there to see this woman, but then his daughter comes running up to him and they hug each other. And it's us kind of, it's a lot of,
It's so heartwarming.
It's hard. It's a good thought, because like in today's world too, like if you think about it, a lot of homes are divided right now. Like it's a lot of divorces, and so I'm going with that as well too. And like, even though you're not there all the time, like you need to be there all the time.
You show up.
And so I think the slogan that we landed on was "Be the Valentine she'll always remember."
Mm.
And so it's really like from day one, like as parents, as fathers to our daughters, we have to set the example of what they need to expect going forward from other men that come into their lives.
Yeah.
And
set the bar high.
Exactly. So
or women.
What?
You said other men that come into their lives. I said or women.
Yes. Anyone who comes into their lives, they just need to know where the bar is set.
So have you shot it?
No, we're waiting for the final okay from the place that we want to film the work scene at. Once we get that okay, we're going to set the date and go. We're using Justin Maine and Callie Bustle.
Nice.
And then my daughter is going to be the daughter.
Oh, dude, I wanted to play the little girl. Okay.
You what?
All right. Whatever. No, dude, that's awesome, man. I think that's great. I think that's I think it'll
But
turn
we're not
out
going to target like the big companies or anything like that. Like we want, especially coming out of 2020.
It sounds like a Hallmark thing.
What's that?
Yeah, I mean, if Hey Jewelers wants to buy it, I'm not going to tell them no.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if they want to shop it. Well, I mean, we're going to have a list of people on that we're going to show it to and see and whoever. Yeah. But ideally, though, if we end up going to smaller businesses, like, and we want to help them, especially coming out of this pandemic, like if they were suffering and struggling, like kind of want to help them as much as we can. So
that's cool, man. Well, hey, I want to shift gears a little bit. Something that I had read in the news with the latest stimulus package that came. It was like a 5,500 page document or something. And something that was in it said that the Pentagon has 180 days to turn over all info they have on UFOs. So, your thoughts? Because I think that's super weird to put in a stimulus thing. Kind of freaking me out a little bit, but I'm weirdly excited.
So
all right, cool. I'm glad we had a great show, guys.
So Patrick and I talked about this a little bit before we started, but that honestly doesn't surprise me that much because there's been a huge push over the last, I would say, 5 years to have the government declassify the information that they have, about aliens or, alien encounters. And as I was saying to Patrick, one of the kind of leading proponents of getting all of this stuff declassified is one of the original members of Blink-182. And the History Channel, I think it was the History Channel, recently did a show that was about not only the declassification of the files that have just recently come out, but also this push to get them all declassified. And as I was saying to Patrick, it also doesn't surprise me because 30, 40, 50 years ago, it was much easier to dismiss this as somebody just trying to get attention. But in the world that we live in now with cell phone and immediate access to the entire world, it's harder for people to just say, no, you're crazy.
Mm-hmm.
because there's the evidence that people used to not be able to provide can now be provided. And I mean, the best example is the fighter pilots that have had their experiences with these UFOs. And you know, it's a lot harder when it's a trained fighter pilot from the U.S. Air Force or the Navy saying, hey, I don't know what this is, and it shouldn't be where it is. It shouldn't be moving in the way that it is at the speed that it is, compared to that if it's Farmer Joe, well, I had some weird lights over my South 40 last week.
Yeah.
I mean, it leads a lot more credibility to that idea that, there could be UFOs, whether you believe it or not, that it's a lot harder to argue with an expert in their field saying, hey, this isn't adding up. This shouldn't be happening.
Yeah. I think it's one of those things where like the what was the video that got released? Was it released by the Pentagon? But it was the one
Yeah.
of that it was footage that they caught from, I think, a fighter pilot's plane or something
Mhm.
like that. And
Mhm.
of that like spherical,
Pill.
but yet it had a kind of a strange, like a ship type looking shape to it that was just kind of floating there and then just like
Yeah.
weird. Like that stuff is, I don't know. It always interests me, and I dive into I'm not like a huge conspiracy theorist or anything like that, but I kind of dive into that stuff sometimes. And
Yeah, and most of the time, I mean, before that, I had even myself, like if I saw TV shows that were talking about it, I would just dismiss it as, well, it's entertaining.
yeah,
People watch it, and some people will just eat it all up and believe everything, but it's there for entertainment. But when you do see those declassified military files, and it's not necessarily what you're seeing, but the way in which the pilots are reacting to what they're seeing,
yeah,
to me, that's when it's kind of like, yeah, that is weird, because these pilots are definitely, you wouldn't say nervous, but they're almost hesitant as to like, this isn't right. This isn't the way it should be. And those are people that are trained to be calm in situations like that. And when they're
yeah.
like, this isn't right. This is really weird. What am I seeing? Then you're kind of like, yeah, because these guys aren't going to just make this up just to make it up.
And it's
Too
many
much
of
at
them.
stake for them.
It's
Yeah,
many
right.
pilots. It's not just one or two. I mean, there's a lot of cases like this where this
Yeah,
sort of thing has happened. And you're right. I mean, they're trained to be calm, cool, collected, and when they're kind of freaking out over the radio, like,
yeah,
and their instruments are getting crazy, and they're having malfunctions and everything, that's, I think it definitely adds to the credibility. What do you think, Jeff? What are your thoughts?
I've never dove too deep into any of that stuff, to be honest with you, just because I don't know. I always think there's like I don't not believe in aliens. I just
Oh,
think like,
oh, geez. Okay. All right.
no, I just at this point, like, just give the people what they want. So I'm sure they're formulating all this stuff to show people just to get a rise out of them, and just like, all right, fine, there, we gave you something. And like, with today's, I just think about like, if cell phone footage of like, hey, did you see that? Well, why isn't there like hundreds of them? Because I'm sorry, if I see somebody pointing their phone up in the sky, I'm gonna look too, and I'll probably pull out my phone and be like, what is it? Like,
Yeah.
why aren't there like 30 of these videos of this one thing? Like, it's not like everyone's like, oh, that's cool, and just keeps walking. Like, I with today of being able to add anything into your video.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's
Know.
true. That is true.
I'm
That's a good
one that
point.
like, if I'm gonna like get sucked into this, like I need something cold hard that's like, all right, oh shit, all right, maybe let's look more into it. But like, if it's just like one video and like they're surrounded by dozens of people, but there's only one video surfacing, like that just doesn't seem right.
Yeah. Well,
oh
budget
yeah, he
cuts.
doesn't buy this, but ask him about Sasquatch and it'll go on for hours. or as he calls it, Sasquatch.
It's the Squatch.
No, now Nelly, we'll talk about Nelly, all right.
Well, you know what's funny is I just saw a meme. It was of Kermit the Frog, and he was staring out a window, and the writing on it was, haven't seen any photos of Bigfoot in a while. Hope he's doing okay.
Yeah, where did that go? Well, that died down pretty damn quick, didn't it?
I know.
It's, all this stuff is just it'll come and it'll go, and all this other.
But it's so fun to dive into, though. Sometimes
Like
I enjoy it.
Yeah.
What kind of trips me up more or less is like the coincidences and like deja vu, that stuff.
Yeah.
Like that's what kind of I get sucked into a whole lot.
Yeah.
Like the thought of deja vu is, just moments that have already happened into a different timeline or something like that. And that's there's a lot of cool theories around that. That's
Jeff lives in the Matrix, by the way.
he lives in the multiverse, right? Oh, come on, dude.
Come on, did you
Get your camera figured out?
I just need to.
This is why he's not directly responsible for any films. He didn't even hold his cell phone up straight.
You guys are paying attention.
Okay, so the final segment is
The goods.
that I have of the show, the goods.
I'm really nervous. I'm not going to incriminate myself.
Just please.
I'll tell you everything you need to know about him.
Shane, we'll start with you, and then we'll go to Jeff. And then the next question, we'll start with Jeff and go to Shane, and we'll just bam, 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 bam. Numero uno. What is your favorite film of all time? I know.
That's funny. My wife poses that question to me quite often, and I really can't give an answer. But
You're really killing the segment so far. Come on.
I know. But I would say one of my absolute go-tos, like if I ever see it on television,
Forrest Gump.
Close. Tom Hanks is in it, but not that. Saving Private Ryan is always a movie that I will stop at. The first 30 minutes of Saving Private Ryan is probably the most intense in a movie that I've ever seen, because when you see them recreate that, it makes me wonder, how did anybody get up that beach?
Yeah.
So Saving Private Ryan, maybe not my all-time favorite, but one of my favorites, because I really like World War II.
Mm-hmm.
Just the history about it, just the way that everything developed and came about. So Saving Private Ryan is definitely up there for me as one of my top 5.
Okay. Jeff?
I'm not a big guy on period piece films, but like that is one of my favorite like period pieces. That and Midway. Midway was really good too.
Midway was really good. Well, and what I liked, I'm sorry, but what I liked about both of those movies, one, like Saving Private Ryan, to me that's my favorite war movie of all time.
Mm-hmm.
But it also, like, the brotherhood that you see in that movie, and the pride that they have in fighting for their country.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously they have there's a few of those characters that are like, why are we even doing this, blah blah blah, and that creates really good conflict. And I know there were people like that, that had that struggle, because of course, but there was something about that you don't see in movies anymore. And same with Midway. That was what I was very surprised with. Was, to me, I thought there was a lot of pride in, like, there was a lot of patriotic pride in it, I thought, and you don't see that in movies anymore, and I miss that. I like that. But
and in Saving Private Ryan, you got Vin Diesel before he was Vin Diesel. So I mean, come on.
Yeah. There were so many big names in that movie. Ted Danson,
Paul Giamatti was also in that.
Yep. Yeah, a great cast. Okay, Jeff. Sorry, favorite movie of all time.
7.
What's in the box?
What's in the box?
Yeah, that's a great movie.
7
too.
is definitely. Yeah, it's the number one. It's the movie that I can watch over and over again. And if it's on TV, I'll watch it. I don't care if
And at the time, nobody knew that maybe have been closer to the real Kevin Spacey than the Kevin Spacey everybody thought they knew.
Yeah.
There you go.
Have you seen some of the weird videos that he puts out now?
He's a strange guy, which is, I guess typical, because, he is a great actor, but he's just such a weirdo and just creepy.
Yeah. Okay, next, Jeff, we'll start with you. What is your favorite part of the movie making process?
Oh, not the days when Shane is not on set.
Oh, dude, I'm right there with you.
Which is pretty much 90% of the time.
He just shows up 1 or 2 days and, hey, get your ass moving.
Yep.
Yeah, basically.
Pretty much it. God, all it still was, are you done yet? Hurry up. I'm tired. as he's laying on the couch on his phone. My favorite part, I would say probably the writing would probably be the best part. Just because, I mean,
So you're a writer at heart?
I'm a sole believer that like you make a film 3 times: when you write it, when you film it, when you edit it. And I think still to this day, the writing part is my favorite. Planning, I like planning, like getting everything organized and set up, but still just the writing, because I love just the twist. Like, what twist can we add in here that everyone, obviously in every film, somebody tries to do something that hasn't been done before. And for me, it's the writing aspect. Like, what twist can I put in here that will definitely blindside you, kick you in the nuts, and just something that you just never saw. So,
okay, Shane.
I do like the writing, but even though I'm not on set very often, by choice, because Jeff angers me so much that I can't stick around. And the fact that he doesn't know how to shoot something that doesn't start filming at 1 a.m. and goes to 5 or 6 in the morning.
In 12-degree weather?
Yeah, in 12-degree weather.
That day of Scapegoat in the cold for the car crash, still to this day is my favorite day on set.
That sucked.
Well, nobody asked what your favorite day was.
Yeah.
That. So,
Shane. but then I also, I guess, which I like the creative part of being on set, because what maybe we don't do it, but what Jeff and I try to allow, like you, Patrick, as an actor to do, is to create within the scene, like within your character, to where, yeah, there's dialogue and we want you to hit that, but if there's something that comes up when we're doing it that's better than what we've done, well, that's what we want to go with, because that's going to make it better. And it's always those little, it's the little things that you find when you're filming or even when you're rehearsing that, is cool, because it's spontaneous and it's creative and it fits better than what you thought should go there as the writer or director or, producer or whoever it is that you are for that particular film.
Yeah. Well, I think that's why I enjoy working with you guys so much, is because you're so collaborative. You don't, I mean, obviously it's always an actor's dream is to get a team that's collaborative, and that there's been many times where I brought up an idea and you guys are like, no, that's just not going to work. I can't do it. Like, okay. But you guys you give me the comfortability to be able to not have to worry about coming up to you and offering up an idea. You know what I mean? Like, I don't feel like I can't do that, or like I need to ask permission. Like, oh, hey, do you mind if I bring something up? Like, because you guys like, let's get it all out there and see what sticks and see what works. And so that's truly a treat. But I will say, I really enjoy being on set when Shane is on set. But I feel like I get the least amount of work done, because all we do is just quote Tropic Thunder, the other guys, Anchorman. Like, it's all we do.
This is the day on set when Shane's there. It's joking around, yeah, this is funny. Hey, what about this and this movie and this movie? Guys, why aren't we done yet? Hurry up. Like, he is the reason why we're not done yet. He's the one side rail and everything.
Jeff is trying to set up a shot, and Jeff's like, Patrick, I need you on set. And I'm like, okay, hold on.
I create complete chaos around Jeff and then demand that he gets it in order.
That's completely how it is.
I love it. Okay, so if you guys could tell any story that's been told already, but give a fresh take on it, which one would it be?
Of like stuff that we've gone through.
No, like big, like.
If we're doing the typical Hollywood movie move of redoing the shit that's already been done.
Exactly. Yep.
No, probably not. See, the thing with me, like those behind the scenes stories.
It wasn't a would I or would I not question.
No, yeah. What I like for me, for the move, like for movies, is I like to hear who could have been certain roles, because to me that's really interesting. Well, how would they have played that? Like Will Smith being Neo in The Matrix. Yeah. How different would that have been than Keanu Reeves?
Yeah.
Like that. Those are things that always interest me about films. Is who are the other people that they wanted to be the character that just didn't do it? Like, so another one, I had read that Cameron Crowe actually wrote Jerry Maguire for Woody Harrelson.
Really?
But Woody didn't want to do it, so then Tom Cruise did it.
Well,
And that could be wrong, but that's like one of those urban legends that I had heard was he wanted it to be Woody Harrelson, but Woody Harrelson didn't want to do it. So then it went to Tom Cruise.
See, I read that Leonardo DiCaprio was originally supposed to play Spider-Man instead of Tobey Maguire, and James Cameron was going to direct it.
Oh yeah.
Oh wow.
That too. There's Kevin Smith was supposed to do a Superman movie or something too.
Matthew McConaughey almost
Nicolas Cage,
was in
Nicolas Cage was
Titanic.
supposed to be Superman.
Yeah. And they even did a costume test for him.
I hate that. I hated it.
But Matthew McConaughey.
Are you talking about Nick Cage as Superman?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Matthew McConaughey was almost Jack in Titanic as well.
Yeah. See,
Crazy.
but that, but like
ship's
that,
going down. All right.
Yeah, right. Because that, and then there's some, you see, there was another one where, I think it was for Forrest Gump. They wanted it to be John Travolta.
Oh gosh.
I know. Like, see, that's the mind blowing part. Like, that's what entertains me when like I hear those stories is who could it have been?
Yeah.
Or who did they want it to be compared to who it actually was?
Tom Cruise was almost Iron Man.
Yes, I read that recently.
Yeah. That wouldn't have been as good, I don't think.
No.
Because he didn't.
Because
he's not as charismatic.
Right, exactly. And then the actor that does play the person ends up being so perfect, like Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark, that when you hear the other stories, they don't make you mad, but you're like, yeah, that is dumb. Like, why did they even think of that?
Well, John Krasinski actually went in for a costume test and a screen test as Captain America. And
I read that too, yes.
And he was going to be screen testing with Chris Hemsworth as Thor. And he said that he put on the suit, looked at himself in the mirror and just goes, I can't do this. No, it just doesn't work. And took it off and left.
But now he's in the running to do
there's somebody in the background.
Hi.
Hi.
Nice to meet you. I'm Patrick.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. There's your introduction.
I'm Shane.
But yeah, no, he's supposed to play in Fantastic Four, or supposedly, and then Emily Blunt may play oh my gosh,
Invisible Woman.
Yeah,
and he's gonna
Sue
be
Storm. Mr. Incredible or Mr. Fantastic or what?
Yeah, Mr. Fantastic. Yeah, the guy that does.
Did you say Mr. Incredible?
Yeah, I did. Oops. Okay. So yeah. Next, what is your guys' go-to drink of choice?
Bourbon.
What kind?
Woodford Reserve.
Oh, okay. All
right. Woodford Reserve is good. Actually, the first time I had that was with Jeff.
Yep.
I tend to be a beer man, so I do Bud Heavy if I can. If I can have my druthers and pick, that's my favorite beer. But if I'm gonna be an adult, Jameson. Big fan of Jameson.
Have you had Tullamore Dew?
I can still see you.
Yeah, I can still see.
What's going on there?
This is if some naughty things are gonna happen, we may need to.
I think so. Yeah, we might have to cut this off. Or start charging people to watch.
Yeah. Have you had Tullamore Dew?
I have not. I've heard of it, but I have not. I also like Glenlivet. It's another one I like. So
Tullamore Dew it doesn't have as big of a bite as Jameson, but it's a lot smoother.
Oh, wow. Well, then I'll have to check that out.
That Jameson was my go-to, and then I tried Tullamore Dew, and I was like, oh, that's it right there.
Okay.
Okay, and then finally, what do you guys do to keep yourself centered?
Well, Shane does a lot of tight spandex yoga.
Oh, dude, I've heard of that. Do you have the goat?
There's actually
also?
video of it. There's video evidence of him doing some sort of a workout routine in a commercial that he did.
What?
Actually, yes. By Bud Light commercial that I did.
Yep, it's pretty fantastic.
I was working out in it.
You
Yep.
exercise in a Bud Light
The one
commercial.
time he
That's
worked
perfect.
out was in that commercial.
I do. I exercise actually twice in that commercial. I'm doing like some aerobics in one scene, and then there's another scene. I pull out my ridiculous Running Man. I have this really dumb.
It's not what I thought you were going to say, but okay.
No, I have this really dumb running form that I use when I try to be ridiculous, or I think it's pretty funny. People laugh at it when I do it, so I use it, and I'm doing that in one of the scenes as well. I'm like running in a park and looking ridiculous, and but yeah, so actually that's on film.
That's awesome.
That's on film.
But yeah, so to keep your guys' mindsets in a positive way, and just kind of staying grounded and staying centered. What are some things that you guys try to incorporate in your lives to be able to keep that going and attain that?
Outside of the alcohol that we already talked about?
Yes. There's people you can talk to about that, by the way.
I do. Then Shane tells me to show up and stop drunk texting him. No, writing was my big thing for the longest time. Was just writing, scripts, stuff like that. And then when the pandemic hit, I started learning how to cook in a different, cook vegan just for the sake of doing it. Like my dad's a big vegan guy, so he's always been there, talking to me about it. And then I just decided to make some of my favorite dishes vegan, a little bit healthier type thing. So just learning how to do new things is how I kind of stay grounded.
Nice.
Like going through this basement renovation, like I've never finished a basement. I've never done this before, and I'm learning as I go. And it feels good. It's a whole new type of joy and everything.
Yeah. Okay, Shane.
I mean, for me, I would probably say, so I have a daughter. She's 2 going on 3. That keeps me pretty centered. It keeps me busy because I can just kind of shut everything off, things that are stressing me, or if Jeff is making me angry about something or other. I can just kind of turn off. And, it's also nice to where, if you think that you're a big deal or something, as people always say, your kids remind you how little of a deal you are, because Jeff sent me when Jeff sent me the first edit of the music video. My daughter she doesn't know, but she's like, "Oh, what are you watching, Dad?" And I said, "Oh, it's this music video that Uncle Jeff made, that we made with our company." And she's just kind of like, "Yeah, okay, bye. Can we go play now?" And that so that really keeps you level in the sense that if you think you're a big deal, just talk to your kid for a few minutes, and then you realize that you're not, because they don't let you get to that level where they're like, "Oh my God, oh my God." They just are kind of like,
"No, that's just my dad."
Yeah, no, what's important is you're my dad, and we need to play now. We need to do something I want.
Yeah.
So,
and her birthday is when?
It's in February.
Okay. Because if I remember correctly, when we were filming Scapegoat, wasn't she? I thought she was born around the time, or you had just had her, or
she was born in 2018. So I think that my wife was pregnant at the time. I think we were done with Scapegoat by the time that we had her. But actually what I think that we were doing was,
didn't we come back for a reshoot though?
Yeah, maybe we were doing a reshoot, or we may have started doing the what turned into now Locker 42. We may have started filming the first short for
no, because that was during the premiere, and she was at the premiere. No, so I think you had her the year that we were doing the last little bit of Scapegoat.
Okay,
I think so.
Because that took us a decade to do because of every single thing that could go wrong is still going wrong.
It's still going wrong, as Jeff and I found out again yesterday.
Yeah. So
filmmaker.
So you had her then, because I remember when we were doing what is the final scene of the movie, you were there, and it was after Noah moved to Georgia and I became the director, and all this other stuff. And so I'm filming it, and you showed up there to help be like the assistant director at that point too, to tell me if what I'm shooting actually does look good or if I'm just full of myself.
Right.
Okay. Well, hey guys, I really appreciate you coming on, and it was I hope you guys had a good time. I know I did. And I hope to have you guys back on, and Jeff, when you guys get your show all set up and going, if you need a guest, don't call me.
I will come back on, but I'm never going to come back on with Jeff again. So
okay.
If you want me back on here, just leave him off.
Just next time, if we're doing this, I don't want to wear clothes. All right.
Well, all right. Deal. As long as you know that it'll be a premium video, and I
could tell that Jeff was pouting the whole time that he had to wear clothes because he never stood up and paced once. No, he would have been up and pacing around.
Well, this is also more.
Now he'd have to do a little bit more work in the editing. For little censor video. I mean, little censor video.
And I think that this is probably more than I've seen you wear in the last 3 years. So I really applaud the effort. I thank you.
I mean, I'm here for you.
All right, guys. Thank you very much for listening, and thank you very much for watching. If you're watching on YouTube, please don't forget to subscribe, like, share the podcast. And I hope you enjoyed it. And I hope that you go check out what Vigilant Entertainment's doing, and check out what I'm doing, and hopefully you'll be back for the next episode. Thank you.